Ladies, gentlemen, and young ladies, the situation is only getting worse Ivory Coast side, more precisely on the capital side, Yamoussoukro politics. It's the 22nd October 2025, a few days from the presidential election, we will say to 3 days before the presidential election, Ivory Coast side, the part of the opposition, the citizens of the opposition who came out en masse for a few days already and who have really decided to stand up against the fourth mandate President Alassane Ouattara. This youth is not getting any better. This youth is furious. Let's enter another phase, a phase uncontrolled activities of demonstration and protest. So what's happening on the coast side? Ivory Coast, that worries a lot. That worries a lot. For some time nowadays, it's the same strategy, but which only gets worse. As you can see from the images, the roads are being blocked. The young people take their courage, see you tomorrow, to cut wood. Trees, I was going to say, and deposit on the roads. Yes, to block the roads. That is to say, no passage. That these are the roads that go in the localities of the deep country. Even in the capital, Yamoussoukro, the roads are barricaded. The police and the gendarmerie are in doing their best. But the worst is that in Yamoussoukro yesterday, 21st October 2025, there were 444 people were sent to the dead in eternal rest. This number is already too big to see what it's like, testifies to the growing tension. We don't need to remind you of this, that the CEI building in Yamoussoukro was set on fire. The CEI itself made a press release criticizing this behavior, and so the situation is getting worse. Ladies and gentlemen, in the framework of this conference is to this news that we are going to talk about. News about what's happening in the Ivory Coast side on this 22nd October 2025. But before you continue, agree to share the conference as much as possible. Share it in all groups as much as possible that you can. And always remember not to leave your different opinions in comment. Let's go deep. So in Ivory Coast, in Yamoussoukro, there is had 4 deaths, including 2 babies, during recent protests against the fourth mandate. It should be remembered that the Ouattara's fourth term does not pass. It was the opposition that launched the watchword, but today there finds on the ground some elements that have nothing to do with the opposition. There we have it, certain elements of civil society, some elements which are neither side nor the other side, but who have a rage, a determination, and wanting to put an end this ambition at all costs. Fourth term of President Alassane Ouattara. So, it must be said that it all started with this march, which was said to be peaceful, but which was forbidden. A march peaceful, which was banned, and it is to from there, everything changed. And so on the night of October 21, and the demonstrations were repressed in the blood but cleanly, and what has generated frustration and anger, who does not say his name. We already quote several young people who are arrested. We have 32 young people who were arrested on the side of Yamoussoukro, who were judged, Dada sentenced, I believe, to 3 years in prison firm. And this approach of justice, Ivorian, aims to dissuade all those who want to put in the demonstrations. It is as if to say, if you go out manifested, if we put M on you, you will spend 3 years in prison. But despite this, the protesters they don't get angry. They are there all the time in the streets. They are always in the streets. There are gas attacks, tear gas which are launched in family classes. Families receive tear gas while CC. These families are settled peacefully, which means that even those who are supporting Alassane Ouattara are also victims of the police repression, and which reached another level. And so the situation becomes very, very complicated. These people who receive tear gas sitting down quietly in their home, and yet they are for the president, they too enter another form of anger. Why? What's going on? And so the situation becomes very complicated, but the elections are approaching. And the other phase that the situation has taken is that you have activists on social networks I believe, Ivorian political activists who are based abroad. And these activists, what are they doing? These activists are in the process to call. They are implementing strategies of deep destabilization of the country. They call for concrete action. We saw young people in particular, a young man who climbed on, I think it's a surveillance camera. He has started hitting the camera surveillance with his machete. And then this image was considered to be an erotic image that these Ivorian political activists have started broadcasting on networks and call on others to do the same. Situation is getting complicated, huh? It must be said on the court side, Ivory Coast, the situation is becoming very complicated. There you go. It's getting very, very complicated. And meanwhile, you have other young people who go out on the social media well hidden with hooded glasses and who pass reinforcement messages. In any case, Yamoussoukro remains the nerve center, the point now, the reference point of these demonstrations against the third and fourth mandate of Alassane Ouattara. Yes, it's very, very hot, even if there is other cities that are getting involved. But obviously, it becomes something else. So it must be said that the repression took on the appearance of a hunt to the man, eh? The repression looks like a manhunt because that people are pursued even in their last entrenchment, even in their home. And then sometimes the police just shows up in people's homes and then we get hold of people we stop. We don't know if they are real protesters who are arrested or, well, the regime does that just to intimidate, to dissuade all those who have the appetite for these demonstrations, all those who have the appetite to protest against the fourth Ouattara's mandate. But it must be said that the election hasn't even taken place yet. So the election hasn't taken place yet. But the situation is getting worse, complicated as the hours pass, and it must be said there is a ridiculous fact. Last night at the Hotel Ivory, we don't know what it was, ceremony where people allowed themselves to shoot fireworks, where we have heard hidden. It sounded like we were shooting machine guns. And finally, the Ivorian people were really scared yesterday night, even all those who are from Ouattara's side. Well, after that, he was found that they were fireworks. And that's it. Well, is it in such a moment that it is necessary to proceed to such fireworks? I know that, and we will see that the authorities will intervene to get hold of the responsible for this activity nocturnal. Since yesterday, it was at around 12 South AM to 1 Port AM. There you go. So then the situation becomes very, very complicated on the Ivory Coast side. But here we are praying to God for the Republic of Ivory Coast, that the Ivory Coast cannot relive this that she experienced in the past. Here we are, we wish peace for the Republic of Ivory Coast. And here we go, continue to follow the news of this side. Everything that will come from it, we will come back to talk about it here on the platform of Valley of Consciences. Thanks to all and sundry.